Okay? The next thing is, and this is hard for graduate students to understand, is don't try to solve the world problems. Look for something that's very small, almost insignificant. Okay? Don't try to come out of this woman that I watched last Friday make her presentation. She's really good, really smart. She's going to figure out how happiness is correlated to performance on the job. It's huge. And oh, by the way, what she's done is she said, well, I'm not going to look at your happiness in your home life. I'm just going to look at your happiness on the job. And I'm going to say, oh yeah, those are never tied together. My wife never gets pissed off at me and I have a bad day at work. Okay? The point of it is, let's pick something that's very small. Let's pick something that we can get our hands on and say, let's see if I can change this. Not change the world. That's one of the problems with cultural change. Small independent variables. Then, can it have a big impact? Let me give you an example. I'm working with one of my PhD students. A very interesting kid. He's from Ecuador. And when he first got in the program, I thought, oh, this is going to be terrible. But he didn't come in with any predispositions. He didn't come in with an American attitude. He came in with, I want to learn. That's all I asked him. So Mario and I have been working on a project, and one of the projects that I think is extremely important, which I'm going to try to institute a bond before I die, which could be next week. I've got to give a presentation here again tomorrow, so hopefully it's not before tomorrow, but is how do we identify who's going to be an entrepreneur? What's the hottest topic throughout the globe? You go to China, you go to the business schools, you go to the engineering schools, they say, who's going to be an entrepreneur? What are the characteristics of an entrepreneur? Would it impact our society if we could identify those people? And the answer is, yeah, it really would. What does India want? What does China want? What does all of Southeast Asia? They want to identify people who are risk takers, who have the ability to start businesses. Can you identify those people? I work with a young lady at, Dale's not all that young, but I work with a lady at Bond, and her idea was, well, if they took some courses in entrepreneurship, they'd more than likely be willing to start a business. Or if they came out of a family that had a family-owned business, they'd be more likely. And what we found out was, it has no impact whatsoever, zero. So I'm working with Mario, and I said, okay, Mario, I'm still really interested in this very important dependent variable. Can we find some small something or other that might impact this? And I said, let me tell you something. I'm an entrepreneur, and I am. And I have something that most people don't have. I'm dyslexic, I can't read, and I am hyperactive. I'm an ADHD person, hyperactivity disorder. I'm bouncing off the walls at all. This is normal. I'll go home and I'll be this way with my wife. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm this way in the morning. I said, is there a marker that says if somebody's ADHD, they'll be an entrepreneur? That's a very small issue, it's a medical issue, but can I extrapolate that to these people are going to be entrepreneurs? Now, why would I think there's a tie between those two things?
You have a case?
Pardon me?
You have a case that you think you can build on?
Yeah, I'm generalizing myself. I look at Edison, I look at Bill Gates, who I happen to know fairly well. I look at Steve Jobs, I look at guys like that, and Richard Branson, and guess what? They're all ADHD defined people. Now, why would an ADHD person be a good entrepreneur? What do we learn to do that you don't? I can multitask you out of this room. While I'm lecturing to you, I'm working on an article in the back of my head that I'm going to have to make a presentation on tomorrow. It's going on the same time I'm talking to you. That's why it's not very clear what I'm saying. But the idea is the entrepreneur takes risks. As an outsider, if I'm an ADHD person and I don't fit in and I'm not socially very graceful and all the rest of that, I learn to multitask to make myself seem like I'm a part of the group. But am I different than you? And the answer is yes, I'm very different than you. 6% of the population in the United States, I don't know the world, but 6% of the population in the United States are entrepreneurs, defined as an entrepreneur. 8% of the population are what? ADHD. If you look at the characteristics of an ADHD person, hyperactivity, multitasking, across the board, and you say, what makes a successful entrepreneur? They're exactly the same. A very small idea with an extremely important dependent variable. What are we doing with entrepreneurs in the United States today? If this is true. We don't know. I'll show you how we're going to do it. But what's happening in the United States today?
Curing the illness.
Pardon me?
Trying to curing the illness, I guess.
We're trying to turn them into like everybody else. So how do we do that?
Drugs.
We give them drugs. So we're taking the best and the brightest, the smartest, the people most likely to start businesses, to have a significant impact on society, and we say, here, take your Ritalin, so you're like all the rest of these people. Would it be important to know that, yes, these are the leaders of the future? When I give this, I've got a whole talk built around this, but when I give this talk to families, these people's eyes just wide down and say, oh my God, I always thought my kid, there was something negative wrong with him. This could be positive. And the answer is yeah, it can be real positive. It's a very small concept with unbelievably important consequences. Okay? All right, you got to capture what's going on. Today it's globalization, it's hyper-competition. If your research doesn't look at those, you probably have a problem. I think things need to be clever. I think you have to, what I always say is, I always look at things backwards from the way everybody else looks at it. Okay? It's education that makes entrepreneurs. I'm going, Steve Jobs doesn't have a college degree, Bill Gates doesn't have a college degree, Wojciechowski, or whatever his name is, the other guy, IMAC doesn't, Michael Dell, none of them have college degrees. Why? Because they sat there and listened to guys like me and said, Christ, this is boring. Why would this guy doesn't know anything, or he'd be out there making money. And they all dropped out of school. Okay? That's a clever idea. What's innovative? Okay, there's a university in the United States you haven't heard of called Babson. It's a very small university in Boston. What's unique about Babson? The first day you step on campus, you take English 101. It's taught in an entrepreneurial fashion. You take history. It's about the history of entrepreneurs. You take accounting. It's entrepreneur. Every course you take is entrepreneurship for 4 years. What are they turning out? Entrepreneurs. Okay? That's clever. That's unusual. Everybody, it's important every day. This is an important thing every day. The most important thing about good research, people are uncomfortable with it. Okay? If I came up with something that said Middle Eastern people have absolutely no ability to do this, this, and this, you'd be uncomfortable. Okay? But it may be the thing I need to tell you. You're from a collective society. Are you going to be an entrepreneur? It's not a good sign, guys. Doesn't mean you can't be. The answer is, of course not. But does your society promote entrepreneurship? And the answer is, not really. Is that important to you? Should it be important to you? So the things that are really important normally make most people, particularly the gatekeepers, the people I'm sending these articles to, saying, wait a minute, this is really crazy. This guy's lost his mind. He's talking about all these weirdos that can't settle down in the classroom. Those are our best students. The answer is yes. When I went to college, I could not say the alphabet. I learned the alphabet by watching Sesame Street. It's true. Okay? I didn't have to be constrained. The whole time I was in school, they told me I was dumb because I couldn't read. Well, if you can't read, you must be dumb. After a while, you kind of start thinking, I must be dumb. Okay? What I'm looking for is, did that discomfort make me do something that I normally wouldn't have done? The answer is yes. I have 5 college degrees, I made 1 B. Because I wanted to say, I'm not dumb. Maybe you are. Okay, from your standpoint, and this will be in the slides that I'll give you, you've got to look at what kind of research are you going to do? Develop new knowledge? Defend the knowledge? You're going to quantify what I've just said? Or you're going to say, I just want to get the information out to people. Let me give you an argument for this. I'm giving a talk on this at Bonn in a week.